This one is probably not appropriate to start off with the peace greeting. A woman said to Darwin McPherson, and let me see if I can get her name. Got it. It's Bohème Noir, which means black bohemian. And for any woman in the West to call herself bohemian pretty much means a neo hippie. The kind you saw in the 90s, and probably y'all still see them. Sat up and said to Dawn McPherson that men have such a narrow view of what happens in the lives of women. And that's why it's not okay to tell men to stop being stepfathers. When men say mandatory DNA testing, there are some who will say, well, they don't support it for other reasons. There were some who will say that they don't support it because they don't want everybody's DNA in a database. And there are even some women saying, yeah, go ahead and test every man for DNA. And in this way, also check and see if their DNA is at the scene of any crime. There are women that'll say that. And what those women oftentimes don't realize is that the men whose DNA oftentimes comes back as being the black father of a black baby by an attractive looking black woman might be at the scene of crimes as well, but the men whose DNA does not match up also won't be the fathers. I mean, she kind of forgot that part. We know that as black men, we know because we know the culture, and we have to be aware of this. Simply put, there is a problem in the black American culture in which the women are picking violent men, criminals, scammers. They seek out danger, not the ability to protect them. They seek out simply just danger. They'd rather be with a man that's going to harm them than to be with a man that wouldn't harm them, because they think that if he won't harm me, then he can't protect me either. It's a very atavistic and animalistic way for men to choose, but they do. And they choose that way, and only that way. With that being said, she said that men have a narrow view, and that is because the men that need those DNA test results the most are the ones who are chosen by women that don't fall, or who fall within the narrow view that men have and don't fall into the categories that she's going to try to direct our attention to and use to distract us from the majority of the women. The majority that wind up as single moms are single moms by their own doing. The man did not die on them unless she killed him or set it up. The man did not just come home one day and say, I just want a divorce for no dot-gam reason at all. No matter what you do, I'm leaving you. That's not how this is going. This is not how this happens. The way that this is happening is that for most of them is that they come home and they say, I'm done with you. I'm bored. I'm not living my best life. I've lost so much of myself giving to you, or whatever the hell they say. Or they just cheat and he finds out. They do stuff like this. They chose that the relationship was going to be over, or they just behave in such a way that the man has to leave. The other way is that they choose men, and only men, who couldn't stay if they wanted to because they're too busy with all the other women that want them. And if it wasn't for that, then the women who becomes the women that become the single moms would not have chosen these men either. So that's what it comes down to. I mean, they're choosing guys that can't be dads, or that they can stop from being dads when they find out these guys they thought can't be dads actually do want to be dads and can do so. That also happens a lot. A lot of these guys, once they are convinced that they are the fathers, even these playboys, when they're convinced that they're the dads, they want to be there for their kids. That part they want to do. And the moms are like, no, nigga, you're a deadbeat. No, I'm not a deadbeat. Okay, I got other women, but I'm there for the baby. Yeah, but, and then, child support and get out there and work so you can pay the child support. And while you're working, I'm going to talk bad about you to the kid. That's how they do it. My children's mothers did not do this to me, and I'm grateful that they didn't. The issue is that many of you have known someone to whom this happened, or you are that someone. But most black men, especially the ones that are asked to be stepdads or tricked into raising someone else's via paternity fraud, are not sought out by widows that are single moms. And they're not sought out by women that were merely just left after being good women, they were just left by their husbands. They're sought out by Brittany Renner and the non-famous versions of Brittany Renner. They wanted one guy for the child support or maybe for the breeding, but when there was rules and structure, then they decided, never mind. And they left and they started looking for stepdads. And we already have a confession. You want to see it? It is in the Jet Black Air Lounge. It is a confession in which a lady states, and she has taken the post down, but I got the image. She states that the kind of men that single moms seek out and childless women seek out aren't the same men. She states that. Now, she tells you more than what I just said. That's why it's worth it to go ahead and subscribe. It's the 10th confession. She tells you more than that, though. But it's relevant to that. That's why you need men to get up here and say to these other men, saying to each other exactly what the hell these single moms don't want you saying. We need men to get up here and tell each other, do not go for these women with other men's kids if you ain't bringing kids into the relationship yourself. And frankly, sometimes, gentlemen, even if you are a single dad, don't go for them. But damn sure if you're a childless man, don't be going for these women that got other men's kids. The only way to find out if she would have picked you without having some other men's kids is for her to not have them. It's the only way you'll ever know. And some of you have never been chosen by childless women that were anything similar to you in the ways in which they grew up. And that's because in our nigger culture, you've already been slated as a man that does not deserve to have his own, at least not until after he's already raising someone else's. And that's it. Nothing else. Some people even come to me and they use my religion to try to tell me that I'm wrong. They say to me, well, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam married Khadija when she was a widow. She already had kids. He was a stepdad before he was a dad. Well, number one, what many Muslims believe, not because they're lying, but because they really think it's the case, is that she was 40. That's the commonly accepted belief, but the historical evidences actually point to her being 28. And additionally, they point to Aisha, his youngest wife, not being a minor like what they say. Historical evidences back this up. So the major age discrepancies that they like to point to are not there. They try to come along and say, well, he did it. Why is it not good enough for you? Well, the other thing, too, is that Khadija had the money and he was still the head of the household. So in the beginning, she literally paid the cost for him to be the boss as well. That is also that. In addition to all the support. I mean, she pretty much did what many women nowadays say they would never do and that a man must do for them. She did these things for him. So if he had to be a stepdad before being a dad, and she had to be 3 years older than him, then she certainly handled it the right way. She came to him for the marriage. She was the one that funded for a while. He didn't even have to work after that. He worked for her before they married, but she came to him. She was the one with the money. And he was the head of household. Imagine a woman bankrolling the head of the household to be the head of household. So, we can always point back to that, and yet many Muslim men don't do it. So even when they come with that, I look at them and I say, you have no clue what she did. It's in the historical records, but you haven't read that part. And you ain't ready to do what she did. And the difference is, he was a prophet. We can't be like him. She was not a prophetess. You can be like her. Theoretically, you just won't do it in practice because it's work, it's hardship, and it's adulthood, and it's fair. And it's not a bad deal to men. It's actually a good deal to a man. Except the part about you bringing in other men's kids. And she was a widow. She was not just a baby mama. How do we know? She had turned down proposals from wealthy men because she didn't know about their character. Then went and proposed to him because of his character without him being a wealthy man. These women these days will sit up and say, no, I practice hypergamy. They can't even pronounce it correctly with the Niglish. And so I'm not upset about this stuff because women are being women. I'm upset about this because Westernicians are being Westernicians. They're being wicked witches of the West and then saying that that's just how women are. So that if they can get you and me to believe it, we would just sit up and say, well, they can't be anything different. They can't be anything better. And then you don't look for it. And then you don't tell your sons to look for anything better. And then what happens? These same ladies, if they have sons, especially if they have sons and no daughters, then start looking and saying, okay, you know what? And that's if they love their sons. They start saying, you know what? Look for this. And the sons are looking like, wait a minute, ain't nobody going to be that way. Nobody's going to be that. And so you gentlemen are facing a situation in which, as sad as it is, you're facing a situation in which most of you are chosen by the woman that chose you because of what she's missing in her life. And not because of what she actually sees in you, but the reason for that pattern is not because of what you're actually missing or because of what's wrong with you, but rather it's just because of how they view you as because you're a guy, not even because anything's wrong with you. And that is largely because they have this overwhelming and abnormal disgust for normal men. They're not just unimpressed by normal men, they're disgusted by normal men. That's why I said that if you are a normal guy, and even if you're above normal in many ways, but you're invisible, you're lucky. Because if you were not invisible, they would be disgusted by you. It ain't your fault, and they would never tell you that it's not. That's the part they don't want you to know. Because even if they can find an actual fault with you, that might not justify the actual disgust that they have because they got their own faults. But they still want you to think that their disgust is your fault when in fact their disgust is theirs. And this is something that is very convenient for them to have because if they can sit up and just start acting disgusted by normal men, well, and it was insincere, we might pick up on that. But if they can actually feel it, then it's sincere. So at least there's no insincerity for us to detect. And then therefore, they really do convince us that they can't be any better. And one of the reasons that I know that this is a problem is Esther Villar has talked about the manipulated man, the manipulated male, and pretty much sat up and said that women know they're doing these things. They know they're playing these games. At some point in their lives, they realize they're playing these games and they just keep doing it. And there's another lady named Esther who's on YouTube now. I forgot her last name. And the stuff she tells you is a hell of a confession. I'm about to start putting links up to those things on in the Jet Black Air Lounge. When I find the last name, I'm not going to tell you here, but I'll tell you in the Jet Black Air Lounge. And this is something that needs to be known about because, frankly, gentlemen, the fact is, guys, you're consistently being shown a nasty and bad deal through no fault of your own. And then you're being told that it's not even malicious. No, it's malice. I just told you, and there's even a white guy in the manosphere, so you got to listen to him, don't you? Even he's sitting up talking about this phenomena of disgust that women have in the West for the normal man. Disgust, not being underwhelmed, but disgusted. And he even points out that one of the reasons why they convince themselves to have this and train themselves to have this disgust is so that they won't naturally practice reciprocity, the give and take that would normally go along with it. They intentionally do this so that they would never practice reciprocity. And so when these ladies sit up and tell Darwin to not tell men to stop being stepdads, they're not doing this just because of the interest they have for their kids. They're doing this as much or maybe even more so as their interest against you, their hatred for you. And how the hell do you know this? Pink Book Lessons already said it. She was talking about why it is that a lot of the sisterhood supports Cardi B, even though she's siding with Tyler against much of what Black Americans are saying. Now, a lot of it has to do with Black people's preoccupation with music, no matter what the nationality is, whether it's a Black South African or a colored South African or a Black Dominican or a Black Cuban or a Black American or any other continental African. As a race, we have a preoccupation with music. That's why that's one of the main points of argument in between the nationalities of Black people. White folks ain't about to sit up here and argue with each other about music because they know music does not liberate. It can be used to oppress, but it has not successfully been used to actually liberate. It has been attempted, it has not succeeded. It doesn't matter what kind of music it is. It's not succeeded in liberation. It may accompany other efforts that succeed in liberation, but it itself is not a successful liberator. It doesn't break a chain. It does not release a single inmate from captivity by itself. It just doesn't. That's why I don't really get into a lot of the arguments about the music. And I set up and I tell Black folks of all nationalities, don't argue about that. That's not a reason to argue. Never has been. We're sitting up here arguing, and whites are eating the meat and leaving us the bones over which to fight. But Pink Book Lessons did point out one thing, and she straight up said that if Cardi B had not sat up there and bragged about how she had robbed men and then sexually violated these men in non-consensual ways, far worse than what they were going to try to pay her to do with consent and consciousness and awareness, then that they would not even support her. But if the reason why Cardi B can get the support of FBA women, even after she talks bad about Black folks in general, men and women alike, is because she's against Black men. That's why. Pink Book Lessons said it herself. I saw it this morning, my time, that many sisters hate Black men more than they love and respect themselves. And that's why they'll back up Cardi B. That's why she's okay with them. It ain't because she loves the sisterhood. It's because she hates the brotherhood. And that's all the hell it is. Nothing other than that. There's never been a point where it was really There's never been a point where you've had to do more than that once you have done that in order to get at least the sisterhood divided about you. Tyler right now could sit up and just trash black men if she wanted to, and the sisterhood is coming out talking about what you mean you colored, you ain't black, would turn around and back her up. They would say, "Oh, that's what you meant. Well, why didn't you say that the first time? Oh hell, we with you with that on that." Yeah, yeah. See, that's how they roll. I talk about the hatred, not even because it always bothers me so much, but rather because the lying does bother me. There's so much hatred that they have for you and me, and they're lying about it like it ain't hatred. And I'm going to tell you the truth about the times that it's not hatred. A few days ago, my wife sat up and said to me that in actuality, the women within our culture don't hate us that damn much. And I looked at her like she had grown another head and said, "The hell you mean?" And she said, "Most of them actually do just want a guy that's going to love them." And I said to her, "You real? What did they tell you this?" And she said, "Yeah, a lot of African American women, when I was in college, that's what they would say." And I said to her, "Then that means one or two things. They either lied to your ass or they lying to us. Those are the only two options, because what they are showing us is that they hate us, even though they lied to us and say they don't. They've shown us hatred. So either they're showing us hatred because that's what's trending now, and none of them wants to break away from that. Much the same way that Southern non-racist used to pretend to be racist back during Jim Crow. So it's either that same phenomenon, or it is a phenomenon in which they do hate us, and they didn't tell you because they were afraid you would tell us if they said, "Yeah, we hate these niggas." Those are the only two possible reasons. They're either deceiving us or they're deceiving you. I know, because I know the culture from the inside out. I know what is said and I know what's not being said. That was what I had to say in response to what she told me. I didn't know that they told her that. I believe that they told her that. I just didn't know that they told her that. But I had explained to her what the hell that means. What are the implications of them saying that to you? Two possibilities. Because they don't want us thinking that until after they start bashing men. It's always the same. When they're not busy just bashing black men, they sit up and talk about what all they want and that love ain't enough. And then later on, if they're going to say that men are just wicked and evil and ain't worth a dime, they'll say all I wanted was to be loved. We're always dealing with that. We can't find those ladies that just want to be loved and to love someone in exchange when they're young and cute. That we can't find them. They may exist, but they're in hiding if they exist. And I believe they do, but they're in hiding. They don't want us to find them. So what the hell are they hiding from? If it's not really us they're hiding from, then it's somebody that doesn't want them with us from whom they're hiding. It is the hatred that is at first bothersome when you find out about it, but you never stop being bothered about the deception about this hatred when you realize it's there. So now my only question should be is what should be your only question. The only question any of us should have is, are they lying to others and saying that they don't really hate us, or are they lying to us in the ways that they act? They'll say they don't hate us, but they're showing us they do. So they're lying to us in their behavior or lying to somebody else with their words. It is hatred. That absolutely is the case. Pink Book Lessons talked about that. That was a confession. Now the only question is, are they pretending to hate us or are they pretending not to? But you must know that you are going to be treated with hatred if you were a normal man. And that's not your fault. And you must remember that it is not your fault. I hope this helps. As always, thanks for listening. Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout, Assalamu Alaikum, and Black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it, and Black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Air, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.